Joining me today is one of the most recognizable voices in rock, the frontman, songwriter, and driving force behind White Lion. He's back with a brand new album, Songs of White Lion, Volume 3, dropping September 19th on Frontiers Music. Let's welcome Mike Tramp. Mike, thank you so much for taking time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Songs of White Lion, Volume 3 marks the conclusion of this trilogy. When you first started with Volume 1, did you imagine that it would go into a three-part project, or did you know that all along?
No, actually not. And of course, I have that question in every interview that I do. And the facts are that had I known, I might have spaced the songs out over those three volumes a little different because the first one basically almost comes close to what you could call a White Lion greatest hits. And as much of a fan of greatest hits as I am also not, because greatest hits don't flow like a book or a true album. They're just, they're the hit singles, 3.5 minutes, maximum 4, and a lot of melodies and a lot of things like that. Once I got to volume 2, I knew I was going to do volume 3. And then once we started recording volume 3 and picking the songs, and now listening back to it, I feel that even though, of course, I know the truth, I feel like this is more like a classic rock album. These are the dark tracks. These are the album tracks that never gets played on the radio, all that kind of stuff. These are the songs that a band prefers to play live, all that kind of good stuff.
So you've talked about, I've read a bunch of your interviews and stuff that you said that this trilogy is basically showing how the music would sound live today. How would you describe the evolution of the songs from the 80s, early 90s through 2025?
Well, I mean, the songs have not really changed, but the singer has.
Yes.
So the thing is that how I approached the songs and how I walked out on stage in 1987 is not the same way I approach the songs and walk out on stage in 2025. A few years has made the knees walk a little slower. The voice is a little deeper and things like that. So all those things you just make sure that they are become part of the songs today. So once I started working on those songs, it was to see, because I didn't have a plan to go back and perform White Lion in almost its true form. This late in my life, it's not something that I felt, I have 16 solo albums, and the solo albums are much closer to my daily life. I'm working here, just finishing building a big deck in the backyard and stuff like that. And then, so when I go back in and I pick up the acoustic guitar and start playing some of my solo songs, it's in the same world. But now, as I'm preparing for the Rocklahoma show on Sunday and stuff like that, it's a big transition from building a deck and going back in and being Mike Tramp, the singer of White Lion. With a power drill and a saw in the other hand, So I mean, in all it was more me that had to ask the songs to fit me better than me fitting the songs. So and then again, when I'm done with all the excuses, I know when I walk out on stage, the fans have actually also gotten 35 years older.
Yes, I've often told people about that. They go, "Why did such and such band get a haircut? Why did they do that? Why did they do this?" And I go, "Well, you got older, didn't you?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so did they. And I go, "Are you in the same place, the same headspace at your age that you were when you were
Yeah.
25?"
Yeah. I
And I
mean,
go, "And
I
if you
don't
are, it's
know.
kind of."
I
Oh,
mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
besides Cliff Richard, which is an English singer from the Shadows, or Wayne Newton, they're the only two people that managed to look the same for 50 years. The
Yes,
rest of us
exactly.
actually once in a while just feel like cutting our hair off, singing a bit different and things like that. And I think also a lot of artists, if I mean, if you're an artist, quote unquote, you're not going to write the same song, and you're not going to wear the same clothes. You're constantly in a form of transition. I mean, this is the butterfly that's not going through three transitions, but going through endless transitions. And I've gone back and forth and back and forth and so and so. And I just think that is the freedom of an artist. You can box me in.
So, were there any songs on Volume 3, Volume 1, Volume 2 that when you revisited them, maybe brought on a new meaning to you than when you originally wrote them back then?
Well, yeah, I mean, not necessarily a new meaning, but of course you're coming into the song with the whole knowledge of the song. I mean, you have the blueprint of the song, you have how the song got started being written, you have where we wrote the song, you have how we played the song live, and all the different things. Um, but some of those songs, when we went into the studio, especially on the Fight to Survive album and also the Big Game album, those songs had never been played live. And there's just something about if a song had been played live, it's been thrown through a lot of motions, a lot of tests, a lot of time changes, a lot of different things. I mean, it's a spin cycle times five. That when you go in and the first time you play a song is in the studio, most times, and I can't speak for everybody, down the line, you will regret that you didn't have more time to work a little bit more with the song. So going in and doing volume 2 and 3, I had 40 years of knowledge of these songs. I don't have to put up a lyric sheet to sing the song. I know that song so well that it gives me the freedom to actually sing it. And I'm not taking away from the fans loving those songs the first time they heard it. But the thing
Oh, yeah.
is just when a singer, and I've actually come out and say it's a little bit of my weakness and the dilemma. It takes me a lot of time to become one with the song, even if I've written the song, and it doesn't happen before I started playing the song live and starting moving away from the grid, moving away from the bam, 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 and feeling free, getting into what I call, the Hendrix flow. I mean, when you really listen to Hendrix, he's not in time, but he is the time. He has so much free. I mean, it just feels so free. And I just wasn't that kind of singer. But with time, live, I started breathing and holding back and, flowing with the song instead of being always on the downbeat or the upbeat, but sometimes in between. And
So you were feeling the
that's the
song more.
chance. Sorry.
You were feeling it more.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we were also worrying about how our hair was when we were recording the songs. I mean, we were dealing with we were dealing with not an evolution, but a sort of, thing that was going on, that a lot of the stuff that was going on was being created on the spot. We didn't have a dictionary. It wasn't like we were revisiting the 50s and we could go in and read about Chuck Berry or Bill Haley or Elvis, whatever. We were in the part of the 80s that were being created right in front of us. MTV was the cutting edge. New things were happening every day, recording techniques, etc., etc. Digital recording and digital were taken over bit by bit and bit. So a lot of those things are happening while you're in the middle of it, and you're becoming a bit of a
Yeah.
guinea pig. I mean, we were the guinea pigs for hairspray, and et cetera, et cetera. So the same thing with singing the songs and stuff like that. So I'm in many ways, or lack of better stories, grateful that I get a chance to go out as a grown man and maybe not gyrate my hips and as much as I once did, but singing the songs a little bit more.
So when you go, you do this, you kind of like doing this trilogy from what I've read. You've talked about honoring your, reclaiming and honoring your legacy. Ha- Now that you've done this, these three albums, do you feel a sense of closure with it?
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, that's I can only milk the cow so many times, you know. Um, people coming to a show having already put a set list in their head, and most are sort of like the ones who know the hits. And then I was speaking to somebody earlier on today and saying, and then there's the songs we wish, as including myself, as rock fans, the band would play. But so many bands are just are so locked into, wow, you got to play this song, got to play this song. And a lot of the songs that are known are not the songs that are fun playing. They don't have the big intros, they don't have a break in the middle of the song. They're just straightforward highway, like radio songs.
Yeah.
and
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 you
and they're
guys,
only where they
obviously,
are.
and your music, your songs are your children, and you love all your children, no matter how successful one may be over another, I would presume.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what do you see yourself now that this trilogy is complete? Obviously, you're doing touring, you're doing all that, but what are you going to do moving forward? Are you got more solo albums in the works?
Well, I mean, the thing is that which most people don't know, and a lot of people would pay attention to it, is that already when I ended White Line in '91, and for a couple of years had my next band called Freak of Nature, I was actually even though they're still in still a young person at that time. Um, I am listening to myself. I'm feeling my gut. I'm where am I going? I'm not just going out there. I have to be this. The songs that I'm writing are an expression of where I am at that moment. And when we go to the 16 solo albums that I have, a lot of time I explain that each album represents an exit on the highway where I pull off, shut off the car, look behind where I've been, what I've seen, what I've done, etc., and now look ahead in where I'm going and how I can correct things or change things or move away from things. So all my music along the way has been part of my growing, in that I've
Mhm.
listened to how I feel, I've listened to how I sing when I sing the song. So I'm not going to sit and write a song that I can't sing. It'll go where it wants to go. And eventually that's where volume 1 through 3 is now, is where are we? So now we are, and this is of course a little bit of analogy, but still, Indiana Jones have taken a 30-year break, and now there's a new movie coming back. You're not going to expect him to be as agile, as fast, and as strong. He's going to have knee problems. He's not going to be able to jump. He might not have the whip anymore, and so it's turning a little bit into comedy and stuff like that. I think that the music and where I am today needs a lot of the storytelling and a lot of the, if you somehow can project the life you have lived off the stage in your
Mhm.
performance, so people feel that you're not just getting a dog and pony show, but you're getting somebody that's telling a story of life through the songs.
So kind of like it almost sounds like your music, your solo albums, your era with White Lion, et cetera, and this new versions that you're doing, it's almost like a musical diary, a musical history.
No, yeah, complete. And I mean, I have seen the world through the rock and roll suitcase. I have never gone someplace to visit a town. To visit a town, I've gone there because I was playing there,
Ah.
and with that came a lot of times some doors that were open, some things I got to see because I was playing there. So everything, like I say, next year I have 50th anniversary. That happens to be a lot of years. I remember when my brother and I were at my grandmother's 50th birthday, and we were sitting in the corner, and we're out in the country, and all these people were dressed very old fashioned. Of course, it was in the mid of 70s. And we just said, look at all these old people. And they were just 50 years. Now I've lived 50 years in rock and roll.
Yeah.
And and somehow I'm telling myself that at least have to play music for the next 10 years. After all, it's the only thing that I've ever done, making a living from. I'm not saying that I'm not capable of doing a lot with my hands. I built my own house. I'm quite capable of, but it's not how I pay my rent.
So I mean, you've mentioned a little bit, you pull over to the side of the freeway, of this freeway of life, and you look back and you write. Where do you get your musical inspiration from? Is it just things that when you look back, you sit back and you go, oh, blah, blah, does it come at you when you sit down to purposely do it? Or do you, like, if you're driving down the road, does suddenly a thought come in your head and you go, I should write about this?
Yeah, every song that I've sung beside Radar Love, I've written. Um, I'm a person that writes the melody first.
Okay.
It might attach some words and some lines and things like that as you write the song. And then when you play back, the microphone recording on that just were going while you were doing it. Oh, that's a nice line maybe there. Or I just start completely from scratch and then seeing, what comes into me. So I don't have any inspiration for the melody. The melody comes the second I put the guitar in my hand and start playing. And within 5 minutes, I'm either into a song or I'm not. And I'm not going to force it. It comes instantly. Because I'm not really a musician. The guys that play with me are musicians. They can play for a lot of other bands. I've always only been Mike Tramp and only really done Mike Tramp, even in White Lion. So I only do me. I only know me. I can only do me and things like that. So the second I pick up the guitar, I'm not going to play Hotel California, Stairway to Heaven like anybody in a guitar shop. I will always play something fresh new, which I don't know what it'll be, but most likely it'll start in G. And so, and that's just what I do. And it'll instantly tell me if I'm onto something, even though I'm not planning on writing, it takes me there naturally. Or if I sit down at the piano, I'm not going to try to play Billy Joel. I can't. I'm just singing, and instantly I'll hear a melody, or I go watch TV. So that's a gift that I've been given that I I haven't written for a while. I actually have a solo album already sitting in my studio that once I put a little bit more effort into it, I can very quickly finish. To me, it's just really about, is that what's coming next from Mike Tramp, or what is coming next from Mike Tramp? So there also has to be a reason for writing. I'm not a guy that just writes just to put, 20,000 songs just sitting somewhere. I actually like to write, and that song is getting used. When Vito and I were writing the 4 White Line albums, we wrote them almost like a book. We knew when we'd gotten to the last song, which is also why there doesn't exist any bonus White Line tracks.
Oh, because you wrote them and they were okay. You
We
knew you were
didn't go
done.
into
You were
the we
done with
didn't
that
go
album.
into the studio with 15 songs and pick the 10 best. We knew we never worked on a song we didn't feel was great.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the White Lion songs that are out there are the White Lion songs that are out there. There's no hidden gems anywhere.
Not at all.
Wow. Okay. But as far as the solo Mike Tramp stuff, is there a bunch of extra stuff as well, or did you continue that same writing process with your solo career?
Yeah, no, it definitely. Well, I mean, with time, maybe one or two, and then they would just be put into the batch for the next album. But like 9 out of 10 solo albums will have 10 songs on. I've always stayed to the classic 10 songs on an album. Unless it's a compilation. I do feel that after 10 songs, the album needs to end. And of course, we know that that somehow comes from the old album that you should never get closer to 22 minutes before the grooves couldn't handle it anymore. I guess now with technology, you could have been pushing it into 24 minutes, but we still are stuck with the old fashioned thing, you know?
So, what's next? You're touring on these albums. What's next? Are you going to be coming through
Yeah,
the States? Are you in
the,
Oklahoma?
yeah, exactly. I mean, these days, I mean, it's constantly changing. Last year we were doing bigger tours. Now we're doing sort of fly out shows, you know, one or two shows coming home, spending a couple of days at home, coming back out there and doing some other shows. And we're doing Rocklahoma this Sunday, and then, you know, and I play some solo shows in between too. And so I mean, you know, it doesn't necessarily really have a title anymore. You just do, you
Okay.
go where you're called.
So, who's in your band right now?
Well, Marcus Nand is holding down the guitar, and of course he's the one that came in. Um, Also a longtime friend for 30 years. Said when I had this idea of doing this, he was the one that was being given the job to see if these songs could be converted to another key, especially the legendary guitar solos from Vito Bratta, because it's not
Mhm.
every song you can just change the key to. So he put a lot of work into that. And then I got Jerry Best, another old friend on bass for 30 years that was part of Freak of Nature. And at this moment we got Jason Sauter on drums. It's an open marriage.
And if somebody wants to follow you, Mike, you have a website, social media. How do people follow
Well,
Mike Tramp?
everything has. I've had to add official to everything because there's a lot of Mike Tramp imposters out there. So
Crazy.
it's Mike Tramp official Facebook and it's MikeTrampOfficial.com. Can you believe it? I can't even be Mike Tramp.
Wow. Yeah, I've talked to a few different musicians over, and that seems just to be a ongoing problem. And I've even seen, people that I've gotten to know over the years, they've had a post, "I will never ask you for money" on their page because they'll get these fake imposters out there acting like they're the musician and then asking for money and stuff, and it's just sad. So official, make sure you see that on the website and on the social medias. Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good luck with the third album, the final part of the trilogy, and I'm looking forward to hearing some new solo stuff down the road as well.
I appreciate that. I would, of course, love to do put some new stuff out. I mean, these days, of course, with streaming and people just listening and buying albums online and stuff like that, you know, you basically can do anything. One thing for sure is that there's a lot of music coming. It's just in what format it's coming, and
Okay.
maybe sometimes I shouldn't think too much about it. If it's just right, then it's right.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. A pleasure to meet you in person.
Thank you. See ya.